Hey, it's Jordan Ross Myers, the man behind Twitter's notorious Lee Radswell and Don Gunvalson. I'm inviting you to join me every week for the Pretty Corrupt podcast. Along with my co-host, reality casting director Stacey Noel Connor, and disgraced entertainment TV producer Nate Safer, we deconstruct pop culture's past, present, and future and probe the dark crevices of Hollywood, taking you inside the scandals, feuds, rises, and falls of society's rich and infamous. Alongside interviews with our celebrity friends and special guest hosts, everything is fair game on the Pretty Corrupt podcast. Every Tuesday on all streaming platforms and at storicmedia.com.
A Playlist original.
What's up? It's your host Torry, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. I'm so glad you're here. Today, Denise and Molly from the Gossip That's Good For You podcast join me to talk about a lot of fun things. But before we get into it, I wanted to give two updates. One is that Audrina Patridge just released a new book, and in today's episode, we talk about Back to the Beach, Kristin Cavallari and Stephen Colletti's new podcast about Laguna Beach. So I wanted to touch on that. And then just some think pieces came out about Kylie Jenner using her private jet for really short flights that Jen and I talked about on the last episode of RTBP. And I just wanted to touch on that because it's just a cool perspective, I think. So, Audrina's memoir came out, and I hope people I'm saying memoir like Kris Jenner, not that I actually say it like that, but you kind of forget how in the industry the girls of the hills were. Like, she talks about in the book, allegedly, that she went on a date with Chris Pine, went out with Chase Crawford, was texting with Leonardo DiCaprio, and you just kind of forget that it's like, because now they seem like kind of D-list reality stars. It's like, oh no, they were like A-list at one point. She talked a little bit in the book about how her show, Audrina, the spinoff of The Hills, like ripped her family apart. So I am interested once we get the tea on that. But I think the biggest bombshell that she dropped is that she found Lauren really controlling, which to the viewers' eyes were like, yeah. But just for someone in that like inner circle to say that outside of Heidi and Spencer, I think is really illuminating. She also said she filmed an alternate ending to, I think, The Hills' New Beginnings, where her and Justin Bobby walk off holding hands into the sunset as, like, the finale. And it's like, okay, Brody and Kristin, like, we've done that before. And again, just shows you that they actually, like, film scenes. It's not just, like, their real life. Anyways, the other thing is an article from my fave MJ Corey at Kardashian Colloquium came out with an article about why Kylie Jenner's, climate criminal articles went so viral. So I'm going to read you a few quotes, and I think they're just really interesting. So it says, photos featuring faces tend to earn more likes on social media than photos of safe food. Logic might follow that morale panic induced by the Kardashians was always bound to trigger greater engagement than the dilemma of, say, McDonald's, far less sexy but long-time methane problem. And I think that is so true. Just like we love to vilify, because like I think they deserve vilification, but we tend to vilify these kind of like individuals. But I guess a lot of discourse does happen about companies, but maybe not nearly as much. So that was really interesting. She talks a little bit about how public outcry tends to be more focused on harms committed by individuals because humans are inherently relational. But why then is the conversation so focused on the Jenner specifically? And then she lists a bunch of celebs who are doing the same thing. So that was really interesting, I think, too. And then I really like this point. She says there are a few ways to explain why we call them out with almost Pavlovian compulsion. The polarizing Kardashian dominion over social media and their strategy of curated oversharing has fostered a false sense of knowing them. So whenever they transgress, donning Black women's hairstyles without apology, advising young women to get off your ass and work, it feels personal. We also live in a representative political system in which grandstanding about the moral failures of the other side can be a shorthand way to announce one's own merit. Anytime the Kardashians mass deliver scandals, it's a convenient chance to perform our own ideologies and allegiances online through retweets and comments. I am good because I said Kylie was bad. Especially enticing given the unconscious understanding that Kardashian content gets attention. So I just found that really interesting because I totally get that. Like, I'm also not a perfect, environmentalist, but I do get that, not thrill, but a moral high ground of calling out people like Kylie. And I guess, again, I'm not causing environmental harm like they are, but I don't know, I just thought those 3 quotes were really interesting. So let me know what you think about the Kardashians, some of this being pinned on them versus companies, about how we like to, shit on them even though we're not perfect. Just a bunch of things, please. Okay. I've talked long enough. Let's get to today's episode. Here is my conversation with Deniz and Molly. I'm back with 2 very special guests, Molly and Deniz from the Gossip That's Good For You podcast. Molly, Deniz, how are you both doing?
Hi, Torry. So happy to be here. Truly so excited.
I know. Me
Good,
too.
okay.
I feel like you are our first podcast friend, honestly.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome. I feel like podcast hosts have been the light of my life over these past 2 years with COVID and stuff, because I've met so many cool people online because I haven't been able to in person.
Yeah. No, it was.
Yeah.
It really is. And I remember because we started our podcast
Almost a year ago.
Almost a year ago. But I mean, we started
October,
it.
Yeah.
But then I don't think we published episodes until January.
Yeah. It's so let's say fall of 2021 we began.
Yeah, but
Okay.
then and
Newbies.
then we're super newbies. But I remember, I forget how I found your podcast. I was honestly thinking Spotify, looking at people who talked about podcasts, and yours kind of came up at the top in the thing because you had an episode where you had your friend come on and criticize, which was very very strong of you to have your friend come on and critique your podcast. You're give me notes.
Oh my God, I love that.
Right? I think that's so smart. And I heard that.
that's
And I was
important.
follow this girl. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I so appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know how that came to be. I think he was let's do this. And I was okay.
I have some notes for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And yeah, he has been on the podcast a bunch, and every single time he comes on, he's I have some more notes.
Oh, that's so. I mean, I wish our friends cared enough. Most of my friends are I don't listen. But I'm that's fine.
Really?
Some
Okay,
of them
this
do,
is
but a
so
lot of them are
interesting.
I hear you talk enough that they don't want to hear me.
We have
talk.
Yeah.
random friends that are so committed and loyal to listening, and other friends are yeah, I listened once. I'm okay. You know what? I don't care. I don't need you.
Got
I know.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Noted. Okay, so I have a question. So with your podcast, is it what you talk about with your friends, or is it because your friends refuse to talk about pop culture with you that you had to start a podcast?
That's an amazing question, actually. Me and Deniz literally text all day long, up until our podcast, and then we record and then keep talking afterwards. It's just a continuation. And we were why don't we just put it online instead of just texting one another? I mean, Deniz, probably.
Yeah. Well, so me and Molly, we've been, really close friends since college, which we went to college, we graduated in 2007. We're now in our mid 30s, and we've always been complete opposites in everything in life. we as people, like Molly is married, she has a baby, she's very she's into fashion, she's like, oh, it's just completely different than me, she's normal, and I'm like a vagabond, like crazy out of nowhere. I'm like, I never want to be married, I never want to have children, like I'm like living La Vida Loca, you know, but we bond so much about, honestly, because we have similar, I learned so much from her. Even like the way she views pop culture and like the way her view on celebrities is so different than mine, that like, that was what we were like, I learned so much from you, because we are opposite, like, and we disagree so much, but not in a negative way, but in a way I'm like, wow, you changed my mind, or I'm seeing things in a different way than I would have, or my first judgment was wrong. And like we like push and pull a little bit that way. And my thing was like, when you leave your friends, like after college and as you grow up, like the closest friends to you, you kind of stop having people in common. And like what bonds you with your friends is really gossiping about the people in your lives.
Yes.
But once you stop having the same people in your lives, like you still need that connection of like gossiping. Right. But really, like when you only share celebrities, it's still a great outlet. And that's what we do. So we just get together to gossip about pop culture and celebrities, but we always bring it back to like I think, what was it that we talked to? Like, we'll talk about Bravo, but then like bring it back into our own lives of like, well, I think we have like deep conversations, like after watching, and just like that, we'll start talking about like, why don't we want to have children? Why did you have children? And like to have a conversation about that, or watching Southern Charm. And it's like, what would you do if your boyfriend cheated on you? Like, have you ever cheated? Like having like deep conversations that I would have never been able to ask her about without having
this prompt.
Exactly. So we love the culture, the pop culture aspect, but we're not just like reading off the latest news. We're actually talking about like, real life situations that we can relate to from these stories.
That's fascinating. And yeah, I love that bit too. And sometimes I talk about how it intersects with my personal life, but I think mostly I'm talking about how it impacts our society as a whole, or like kind of societal norms and stuff like that. So that's really, really interesting. That's so cool.
Well, yeah, we're pretty have different guests on every week. Yeah. So I think for you, you must change every week, but based on whoever you have coming on.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Totally. Which is nice. Because I learn different things, and like every time I have a guest from like somewhere, like I live on the west coast of Canada, so then like when I'm talking to people in LA or New York or the UK or whatever, like people have different cultural touchstones, they have different views of stories, even though we watch the same thing. That's just really interesting.
Yeah, you're right. We all have different perspectives on the same thing that we're watching and how it affects us and how we kind of relate to what we're watching, And
Molly watches, me and her also watch completely different things, but it's also forced me to start watching things I wouldn't have before, that I'm like,
and
okay,
vice
this
versa.
is actually very good. Yeah.
Totally. Oh, I love that so much. So Gossip That's Good For You put out weekly episodes.
Yep. We sure do, which is wow.
Tough.
Tough, but I'm proud of us. Yeah, every Monday.
I'm proud of us too. And we even throw in like bonus episodes too. And I'm like, how are we doing this? But I'm very proud of us.
And you have a Patreon. So what can listeners expect when they check out your podcast?
So what do we do, Denise? Every week we just sort of catch up in the beginning. Sometimes we talk about like, I don't know, some crazy story of something that happened to us that week. And sometimes we're just like, the gossip is so good this week in pop culture. Like, let's get into it. And
it's been pretty good. Honestly, this summer, the gossip has not stopped. And what we're both interested in is always different. Like Molly will throw in like some sort of gossip story. I'm like, wait, what? What is that? And I'm like, can we talk about the Doja Cat feud with Noah Schnapp? And she's like, what? And I'm like,
that was so weird, by the way.
That was so weird. Yeah. But it's good because we both have such different interests. So we're not both ending up like, we don't end up talking about the same thing, And then in our, after we like catch up, we do a segment called I Love It. where we both talk about two things that we love, like whatever it may be, like an article of clothing that we just purchased, a TV show. Typically, it's always a
Molly's.
TV show.
Yeah, Molly has like fashion tips, like food that she loved, and mine are always like I'm a loser. So a TV show, a movie that I watched, like a YouTube channel that I really like. It's like,
that would be me too.
like I have nothing else going on, so these things.
I don't have time to watch TV like I used to. That's why. Like, so it's good. Denise usually brings all the TV shows, and I bring kind of like, oh, I went shopping today, and this is a new look I saw, and I think everybody would love it. And and then we do a segment called "What Do You Think?" So that's where we really get deep, and we really talk about, you know, based off of like pop culture things that are going on. How do you feel? Like we said earlier, you know, how would that relate to you? And me and Denise are really open and honest about what we've gone through. You know, like Denise like brought up her weight the other day. Like I can't, you know, like that's really cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, like, I'm sure, like, I think about sometimes like ex-boyfriends or something, like people listening back to the podcast and the things I share, and like also my personal life. Like we do talk about things like our own insecurities and things, because like so much of pop culture, I mean, it brings it up. Like you can't run away from it. Like, and food issues, weight issues, but then it's because it's all in your face. And then also like relationship issues, like it's just, it makes you think about it. And I think before we had to just internalize the feelings that we get from even, I mean, it's so silly, but like even watching, if you watch like Bravo and watch Real Housewives, like some of the fights these women have like stir up something. Like it's like a trigger of a reminder of like a thing that happened in 7th grade, you know, where I'm like, I just want to talk about this awful thing that happened and like see if she went through the same thing, and then we can like both work through it together at the end of the episode. And
yeah, I love that. It's honestly commendable, because I know also how easy it is, even when you're podcasting, to, you know, leave out the bad stuff.
Oh yeah, it would be really easy. I mean, we talk about how much it sucks sometimes being a mom.
You know, you're open about your divorce and stuff. Like I feel like you do share things. Like
I'm very open about my divorce. I'm very open about, you know, being on medication, like anti-anxiety. We're both very open about that, being on anti-anxiety medication. And these are just things that in one way or another, there's someone out there that is going through it, has gone through it, will go through it. And if we can talk to people about what we've gone through, and if someone can be like, wow, I don't have to feel like embarrassed or alone that I'm experiencing that. That is so worth it. Like worth everything to us.
Totally.
Yeah. And like, honestly, getting to talk to my friend, I feel like this podcast, when we started it, for me, it was like selfish. I was like, oh my God, I get to talk to my friend like every week for an hour. Like, boom.
Yeah. Cause when you get older, and maybe you're in a relationship or you have kids or whatever, you just get to talk to your friends less.
Yes.
And you're busy at work, and like you can't carve out times, or your schedules are opposite or whatever. So this is, I bet this is really nice.
Oh my God, it's so nice.
Yeah. And I'm always complaining that I like don't have friends where I live. So
she's very open about that. Yeah.
So
it's tough.
Denise
it's tough.
Is at least like literally my once a week social outlet, even if it's through Zoom. Yeah, I got it.
I love that. And today we're going to talk about, honestly, it's like such a hodgepodge of topics, but they're so good.
But they're so good, honestly.
They're all good. Bounce around to like very different corners of the pop culture universe. But we're going to talk about Emily Ratajkowski's divorce, Diana Jenkins. I feel like my listeners are going to love some Bravo content, since I'm like a Bravo light.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. So I need to pick your brains. And then we're going to talk about the podcast Back to the Beach. And then Denise and Molly are going to nominate a Pettyweight Champion of the Week and share their This Week in Petty stories. So let's get into Emily Ratajkowski. Her and her husband are getting a divorce. I didn't see this coming, but it seemed like everyone else did, because they've been having like some relationship drama over the last couple months.
How have people known about their relationship drama?
I don't know. I guess it comes up in the blinds or just the rumor mill. But I was like shocked. And then everyone was also like, oh, we saw this coming. I'm like, okay.
Well, they are like, he's kind of scandalous. No, like I do remember like that. I remember the story about when they weren't paying rent in their apartment or something. And he's super, super loaded. And they just got married and they were like not paying rent, but they didn't get evicted.
What?
Yes. Okay. Why do rich people like often not pay rent and stuff and just, even though they have the means to?
Truly. And I remember there was a guy I like was casually dating when I lived in New York City, and he worked on Wall Street. He had an apartment where like he would like hit a button and the blinds would go up, which like at the time I was like, you're rich. And he was like, watch C-SPAN, which to me I was like, C-SPAN, like rich, like or not C-SPAN, CNBC, whatever like the stock market channel is.
Okay, yeah.
I'm poor. I was like, wow, he's rich. But then I found out he lived there for a year and didn't pay rent because of like there was a tile in his bathroom that was like not fixed, and he refused to pay rent. He didn't pay rent for a year, and when they finally were like, we're going to evict you, he's like, it's fine, I'm going to move, and he just moved. But he never had to pay. I know.
He never had to pay them back.
No.
This is like Caroline Calloway.
100%. It's wild. And I was like, only rich people would have the audacity or like have the guts to do that. Like, I would never.
Yeah. I guess if you have people that you could move in with or get another lease. But it's like, aren't they worried about like references and stuff? Or do rich people not need
I think they don't. Because I was like, what about his credit score? But it's like, maybe if you have $1 billion, if like not a, because I don't know. I think Emily Ratajkowski's husband was like super, super rich, like hundreds of millions.
Like comes from money? Like his family?
Money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like, do you even need a credit score when you're that rich? Like, the bank will still give you millions of dollars. And like, who's going to say no to you if you have hundreds of millions of dollars in your bank account?
Right. Good point. No one.
Yeah.
I would never know.
I don't really know from experience.
Yeah. If someone knows, please let us know.
Their engagement story, I forgot about their engagement story, but when you posted it, I actually think it's romantic, honestly.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about how they got together. So they were friends for years, and then I guess they started dating, and then after a few weeks, he proposed at a bar with like a paperclip.
It wasn't a bar. It was Minetta Tavern.
It's a good restaurant.
It's a good.
Okay.
Minetta Tavern is a restaurant where rich people go because it's $25 hamburgers, which again, it's one of those, like, I would not eat there because I'm like, I could go to anywhere else. The hamburgers aren't even that good, but like,
it's a hot spot in the city
for rich, famous people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, love this. Okay. So, love this insider scoop. Okay, so he didn't have a ring. Okay, this is what I didn't get. Okay, so she said in this magazine article, she was like, but he took the paperclip off of the bill and fashioned it into a ring.
Yeah.
But I was like, what bills come with a paperclip?
They do here.
They do?
Yeah. So like,
you don't steal the pen?
Way.
No, so like typically when you're at a restaurant, they give you like especially in Manhattan at least, like they give you a postcard from the restaurant, and then they paperclip it on your bill onto the postcard.
Okay, I am dying. Okay, so in Canada, we don't sign for anything.
Really?
I've never. Yes, because we have PIN number. People are going to be like, cancel this. They're turning off this podcast as I explain how our credit cards work.
I'm so curious.
Yeah, so we don't sign. Like, I've never ever in my life signed for anything until I went to the States and had to sign for gas. Like when I bought gas the other day because I was in Seattle. And so we have PIN numbers.
Okay.
It's a 4-digit number for your credit card.
Oh, even on your credit card.
Tap.
Like that's on a debit card.
Credit card and debit. Yeah. So like if I'm buying something, I'm just tapping, or when tap didn't exist like 10 years ago, I'm putting in my 4-digit PIN and leaving. So I thought that the paperclip story was fake because I was like, what the fuck? Like, where is this paperclip coming from?
That is so funny. And you know what's funny? Because I keep seeing these TikToks of like, and like, because I'm in Turkey right now, and I'll say like, yeah, everyone taps. You tap your card or with the PIN number. And I saw TikToks making fun of like Americans because they don't have the tap. And people were like, yeah, we do. Yeah. No, we don't. Honestly, the tap thing is very new in America.
Yeah, like, it is.
It's like new and not everywhere uses it. And you still need to like insert your card. But if it's a credit card, you have to sign no matter what. Like
no, I have never, like in my 12 years or whatever of owning a credit card, the first time I signed was like a week ago. And I felt like I was the celebrity because I was like,
you want my signature?
Yeah. I was like, I never signed stuff.
How do you add it? Like when you're doing it at the restaurant, how do you add a tip then?
Yeah. It just says add a tip and you just click your percentage or your dollar amount.
But like you have to do it in front of the waiter, like while he's standing there, like tap it in.
Yeah. So they like give the machine over to you and you're just like, and then
see, that would make me like uncomfortable. Like I'd feel like pressure.
Me too. That's why I'm like 20% every time, even if they like literally shit on my meal.
Yeah,
I'm
no
like,
matter what.
Here you go.
But they do hover like in Europe. Like they don't leave the table. They bring you that credit card machine, and it's not like in America they'll drop the bill and then they'll walk away. And you pay
they hover here.
They hover, and it's like you better do it quickly. And honestly, I admire that because I'm like, do it quick. But so no, that wasn't a fake story. He really did. I found the paperclip thing kind of romantic because I'm a loser, and I was just like, was it?
It's cute.
Also, but it was also her
it's
attempt.
Like very rom-com.
Yeah. But he's so rich that it's like, was it her attempt at trying to be relatable? Of like he proposed with a paperclip because then they like upgraded to like $1 million rings.
Well, she said at first he just proposed, and she was like, no, I'm not. I need a ring.
Have a ring.
And so he goes, okay, I'll fashion the paperclip. Here you go. And then she goes, and then I thought, oh, how romantic. Like, that's so cute.
It is romantic.
It's fine. I would accept that. I would accept that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like especially with like a millionaire, the ring's coming.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a guy I dated.
Some Joe Schmo. Like maybe I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about this.
Oh my gosh.
But it's very rom-com, like, the cracker box or whatever the
Yeah. Cracker Jack box
like,
ring. Yeah.
Cracker Jack. Thank you. Yes. So that was really cute. But they got married. They just went to like the courthouse in New York. Just weeks after this happened. So people were like, oh, that's kind of like quick. But she was like, well, I've known him for years prior, like blah, blah, blah. And then, 4 years later.
Who did he cheat on her with? Do we know?
So apparently, I don't think we know who he was cheating on her with. But it seemed like he had cheated prior. And then they were like at a party together. And she actually, like, caught them.
Oh, how sad.
Yeah, it seems sad. He seems like a jerk. Like, there was also rumors that he didn't support her when her mom was battling cancer. Like, he just seems like a loser.
Oh, what a shame.
That is so sad. And, what's crazy? It's like, because you look at her and you're like, oh, she's so... I'm like, she's so beautiful. She, to me, seems like perfect. And she's super smart. Honestly, like she does like she's politically aware. She has like really, I like when she talks about politics. I think she has really great insight and opinions. And she seems like super well, educated on so many things. And she seems like she's like an activist. Like she cares. But like, when you're that beautiful and that great, I wonder if like there's an insecurity that comes from like, because she's been in this industry for so long that I'm like, why would you let this man treat you like that? But then that's putting the onus on her, which I don't want to do. But it's like when great women are with like crappy men, I'm like, but why? You're so amazing.
I know. And I feel like that is stemming from just like a lot of societies like beating down women and like their confidence or like their autonomy or whatever. Yeah, there's been a lot of discourse online about like she's the perfect woman, they were the perfect couple, like how could he cheat on like the most beautiful women? Like what do you two think of that?
I mean, I don't like that at all. That's not what it's about. It doesn't matter how perfect, quote unquote perfect, good looking, ideal a woman is. That's not why people cheat. That's not, and then for a lot of people are saying, well, if she gets cheated on, then no hope for me. And I'm like, come on. you know?
That is so sad.
that is so
that is
sad.
the current. Yeah,
because that also
the
takes away.
current
It's him.
discussion.
Like the problem has nothing to do with her. Or,
Correct.
it's him. He's the one that did it. Like there's something wrong with him. There was never anything wrong with her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but somehow we always go back to what's wrong with the woman. What did she do
I think that's
wrong?
our insecurity, because I remember when Jude Law cheated on Sienna Miller, because Sienna Miller is another one where like, God, she's so drop dead gorgeous. You're like, God, if she can't keep her man, like I can't. But that was like another female insecurity of like, but I'm ugly. Like what man won't want to cheat on me, you know? And it's like,
I know
that's not how it works. But it's a hard thing for us to unhardwire our brains and our thinking from that, because that's like really what they hammered into us growing up.
Yes.
And like everything in society and in culture kind of really makes you believe that.
Yeah.
100%. And I was also thinking, like, we don't know her.
Yeah.
Like, we only really know how she looks and, yeah, like, what she says in interviews and stuff. So, like, when people were like, how could he cheat on the perfect woman? I was like, maybe perfect aesthetically, but, like,
correct.
we
Good point.
don't know, yeah, like, anything, like, truly about her. And also, he just seemed, again, like a loser from the start. Like, you're right. He had the rent thing. And then I think he also had some, like, controversial, like, possibly, like, racist comments or something like that. I didn't really dig into it because I was like, how many celebrities that have like a racist past do I have to read? Like, I'm
truly,
it's just like literally everyone. So I didn't want to dig into it, but like I just I don't know, I feel for her, just that the conversation is so negatively skewed to her versus Sebastian Bear.
Of course, his name is
MacClard.
Sebastian. Honestly, that's such a
Bear.
rich name. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
Yeah.
the whole name. Yeah, but I think, Torry, what you said is perfect. It's like, okay, from the outside, you can call her perfect, but you know, she's a real person with real behaviors, emotions, a real personality. And, you know, sure, he is allegedly cheating, but, you know, if people don't cheat because, she's ugly or she's not good looking enough for me. I mean, maybe some people do. I don't know. But, you know, it's what's inside that maybe is a conflict within a relationship. Yeah. Whether she's right or wrong, that's not for us to judge, you know, or and same with him, really. It's between you don't really know what goes on behind closed doors. You really don't.
Totally. Mm-hmm. And part of celebrity gossip is that we are making assumptions.
Correct.
Which is fun, that we think we know what happens behind closed doors.
I know, right? Or that
obviously that's fun.
The idea of like looking at a celebrity couple and being like, oh, they have the perfect relationship. I don't even think that about my friends. Like I could know everything about my friends and like be around them as a couple and like hang out with them all the time. But I don't know. Like I have no idea what goes on in their relationship. So that's a losing game when you start like shipping couples. It's like you're going to be disappointed.
No good.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know. I always thought that about Brad and Jen.
Right.
And when they got divorced, it was like earth shattering.
I know. And honestly, I thought that about Brad and Angelina. And then now their divorce is like so toxic and messy that you're like, oh my God. Like I thought you guys loved each other. And now
Brad and Jen are friends.
Yes. And now they're like, Brad and Angelina are like in the courts over like their vineyards.
I know, like
France
messy divorce. It's crazy. So you never know. You just never know.
You truly never know. So interesting. Well, all the best to Emily Ratajkowski, truly.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I do like her. Like I think she's enjoyable. I've liked her personal essays.
Yeah.
She's had some interesting takes on like being a model and like growing up in that industry and stuff that I think that we're just like really well received about like some of the like abuse and power dynamics and stuff like that not a lot of people were talking about. So wish her all the best.
Same. Best of luck. She'll find him. She'll be fine.
Oh, she'll be fine.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I was like, take that cute little kid and you'll find someone way more deserving of your love. So
But note to everyone, like you will find someone who's better for you if you're going through it, you know. There's always someone better. Don't feel like,
and honestly, that someone better might be yourself, because I will say like it's better to be alone than with Sebastian Bear, the douche.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yes. Oh,
You're right,
that's
Denise.
such a good point. Yeah. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Diana Jenkins. So I actually don't watch Real Housewives. I know like some of the big storylines. It's just like the one franchise I didn't get into immediately, and now it's so overwhelming to get into because it's like there's 30 franchises. They're all like 10 seasons long.
I know.
Like, I just cannot, which sucks because I really do like I watch Summer House, Southern Charm, like all these other Below Deck, like all these other Bravo shows. Just this is the one that, or this kind of franchise that I haven't been able to get into. I did watch Real Housewives of Vancouver, but that was like because it was like, oh my gosh, this is close to home.
Yeah,
but did they have more than one season?
They had 2 seasons, and they're actually doing like I think it's like a 10-year like anniversary or like look back soon.
They never showed it on Bravo, which is the only reason. Like I remember, like it wasn't in the US. I would have watched it because I like the ones like they had Real Housewives of Melbourne, and I think I had to get a VPN to watch it or something. Like that's a bummer. I would have watched.
It was like on fucking Slice or something, which is like Canada's like, yeah, like, or like the, I don't know, W Network or something. It was such a bummer. So, but it was pretty good. So Diana Jenkins just joined Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but she is like a known socialite, I guess.
She's very mysterious.
She runs in like circles with like literally Hollywood's A-list.
Yeah.
But like we don't exactly know why, I guess.
It seems like she runs behind the scenes in these circles.
Yes.
You know, which she should have
those
stayed
are the
behind
most dangerous people. I'm telling you, because I think I've said this to Molly so many times, and I will say it again. Hollywood celebrities are closer to plebeians like us than they are to the people in power, like powerful positions at the top of things. And the people with like a lot of money, which Diana Jenkins, she got all that money, I think, from her ex-husband who's dead, right?
Or from her ex-husband. He's not dead. I don't believe he's dead, but she said on the show, you know, they had a really like positive divorce, and he gave her what, you know, he felt she deserved, and they have a good relationship.
She's like wildly wealthy, like top 1% wealthy, and like the kind of wealthy where the people that run the charities and like they're throwing the parties. And they're hiring the celebrities, like they're paying celebrities to entertain them. And it's like in those kinds of people scare me the most, because I'm like, did George Clooney do her book or whatever because he wanted to, or because he was like broke? At one point, George Clooney was like coming up. He was like in ER. He wasn't George Clooney yet. He probably needed money and like could have taken a gig, because who knows how much she was paying them all to show up in that book. And the power that they have, like, of knowing producers, like she's running these things with Elton John and stuff. Like there's something super sketch that those kinds of people, I'm like, there's something sinister I don't trust.
Yeah.
So you mentioned her book. She has a like coffee table book called Room 23. The like tagline is "A Year in the Life of a Hotel Suite in Beverly Hills in 2008. Which I thought when I first saw this, I was like, this is so cool.
Same.
Because Beverly Hills, like these iconic hotels, just in 2008, again, we didn't have the social media. Mm-hmm. So we didn't see the like behind the scenes like we do nowadays. And it's a bunch of photographs of celebrities in this hotel suite or coming out of this hotel suite. So it's like George Clooney, as was mentioned, Elton John, Ashanti, Minnie Driver, Heidi Klum, Lisa Rinna, and then like a bunch of younger girls at the time, Lindsay Lohan, Hayden Panettiere, Amanda Bynes.
Sorry, those three young actresses? Like,
yeah, at that time too.
Yeah.
At that time was like when they were like height of their like parties, scandals, kind of like the beginning of their careers, vulnerable.
Yeah.
Very
like
vulnerable.
Hayden, Amanda, Lindsay, like we've seen now the 10 plus years that have happened afterwards, and we know how the story kind of unfolds. So
for all of them,
we know how vulnerable they were at this time. So the sales of the book went to charity, as we mentioned before, but a few years after it came out, there was a random blind item that I think was from NT, from Crazy Days and Nights, that got picked up by Jezebel, the like online magazine. And it said that the photos were of escorts and clients, and that Diana Jenkins was like a madame. What do you?
I
think of this?
1000% believe that. And also, when you say the money went to charity, people like that, again, that charity, quote unquote, because those charities are always linked to them in some way, like a foundation that they've set up. So it's like Diana Jenkins throws that Elton John Foundation dinner where they have like the $25,000, $50,000 tables and stuff. That's not, to me, that's like, you know how rich people spend all their money on artwork, but that's like a shell of like how they're just transferring money to each other without having to pay taxes and stuff. Like those kinds of charities, it's like such a loose term because it's like
totally.
What is it
very
really
true
for?
Right.
Truly. Like tax breaks?
Yeah.
Is that what you're
and like a party.
Yes.
Honestly, like it's a $50,000 table. You just want to throw a dinner party for your friends.
CNBC.
Yeah.
And I absolutely think it was an escort because I also think like the way that, again, people with money treat celebrities, they treat them like products. That's all they are.
Yeah.
And it's like a sick, and especially back in 2008 and like the early 2000s, the way that we talked about celebrities, the way that they were treated, like nobody really cared. And celebrities had less control, especially the ones in that book, over their selves and their income and their careers. Like, and I don't want to insinuate, and I'm not, that like they were escorts, but like it's not that idea is not that far-fetched to me at all.
Yeah. And we know a lot more in 2022 about, we don't really talk about this too much on my podcast, but like, do you talk about yachting on Gossip That's Good For You? Yeah.
Well, we haven't talked about it, but I know exactly. Yeah. The yachting culture and the way the girls like that they, but I mean, like,
okay.
Yeah, like where rich, like you're saying, rich people that aren't celebrities but have more money than God are hiring celebs like Emily Ratajkowski, like Lindsay Lohan, and usually to be escorts. So I think like the sex part of it is kind of like still maybe a little bit up in the air, but it's usually on yachts. If the listeners don't know what this is, I'm sure a lot of people know about yachting and yacht girls and stuff, but like it's usually where they're on like international waters. I was gonna say that's why. Yeah, but I just don't get this. So like, what is the mechanism? They have the book, people flip through it. Like that's the part that I like don't get. It's like a menu.
I think it was a way of showing off, like because also I mean she has ties to Jeffrey Epstein, and that's like a thing. And then I just watched the Victoria's Secret documentary on Hulu, and like he had ties. Jeffrey Epstein was like super linked up with the guy at Victoria's Secret, like the owner,
Lou Wexler.
And they were. It's just like when you hear all these people together. I'm not like a conspiracy theory person, but it's like you can't not think like there's something, right? Like it feels like there's something. And I feel like it's more of a way to show off, like look at who we have. Like these are our clients. And that's not like a lookbook. People won't look at the menu, but it's like kind of a show off. And then it gives her higher credibility or whoever is like in part of that network to be like, look who we can get. So when you want, like we have these things. Because now to buy that book, it's like $50,000. Because it's out of print.
Yes. I did see that when I was reading articles about this. Now, like when I first read the articles, it was like $500 to buy this book. But now it's like so much more expensive because it's out of print. And now there's this like scandal around it.
So, okay, I just want to clarify. So when we say escort, it's like you said, who knows if the sex factor is actually a part of it. But it's like the idea of, I have a lot of money. I want Heidi Klum to be at my party on my yacht.
Yes.
Right? So I'm going to pay X amount to Heidi Klum, maybe through Diana Jenkins, to be on my arm at the party.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Exactly. So, and I think like the known kind of yacht girls that I can think of off the top of my head is Emily Ratajkowski, is like Lindsay Lohan, Nina Dobrev.
Yeah.
Do you either of you listen to Beyond the Blinds?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And I think she's great. But like, she's definitely, because like when I hear the stories especially when she's talking about them, is because, or not on Beyond the Blind. Wait, is that Enty or is that?
Oh, this is Troy and Kelly, but so a lot of blind item podcasts cover yacht girls and like some like more celebrity conspiracy like theory podcasts, which like I dabble, but I'm not like full into like a lot of these conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, then I don't listen. Tell me, what is Beyond the Blind?
Okay, so they talk about just strictly blind items, but I think a lot of the people that they've covered, like Lindsay Lohan, have been yacht girls. Again, it wasn't really like well known, but it's like that's why maybe she's living like in Dubai and why.
Oh, like, wow.
Well, because a lot of those, and like that's not creepy, but like a lot of those yacht girls and like the yachts are owned by people who are living in like these like by you know, people in Dubai and Saudi Arabia. Honestly, like huge, like we're oil money, like so rich.
Yes, where like the wealth is more like when we think of Lindsay Lohan, we think wealthy.
Yeah.
But this is like
a different level.
Way beyond that. So it's just really, really interesting. And I think a lot of, actresses and models have done this for income because just like you said, Molly, like it would be like, here's $50K to hang out on my yacht for this weekend or whatever, and like money. And if their career is taking like a little bit of a dip or whatever, and they need to keep up their lifestyle or whatever, this is like maybe an option that they have that maybe normal people don't have.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you think about like what Harvey Weinstein was able to like manipulate and force and like control of these women who in Hollywood, you're like, but they're so, I look at them and I'm like, but they're so great. Like they're powerful in their own right. Like they have all, but it's not like there's like a level of wealth and power that I can't even fathom in my mind, and like what they have and the control I think they do have over a lot of like people in the entertainment industry. And so and it's sickening. I think we're learning more about it, but that's why like, but then it's a hard time not to be like, am I becoming like a crazy, do I need a tinfoil hat when I'm like, they're all in on
it?
Like it's crazy.
That's me, because I feel like in the last 2 years, my eyes have really been opened up to a lot of this dark side of Hollywood through blind items and stuff. And I'm like, this is wild, but a lot of it does turn out to be true. Like you mentioned Harvey Weinstein, there was blind items about him for decades that he was abusing women, and then it all came out. So it's so fascinating.
It really is.
And gross.
And it's gross. And it's also fascinating if you're watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Her behavior, Diana Jenkins on the show, is wild. But then also watching the way some of the women really do bend over backwards. They're like tripping over themselves to suck up to her, to like excuse all of her behavior and to like make her feel comfortable and to tell her how great she is. And it's like, what hold does she have over you? Because they're all wealthy. And she's like, okay, a different level of wealthy. Who cares? It's like she has to have something. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lisa Rinna was in the book and she's on Real Housewives, and she posted the photos that she was in room 23. And so there is this kind of like interesting dynamic between them. But correct me if I'm wrong, but Diana does, like, it came up on the show and she's like, I'm not talking about this, and she denies all of this.
And that's what made it weird, because everybody was just trying to have like like you did this really cool book, Lisa Rinna was in it, you want to share about it? And she was like, no, I'm not sharing. And it got really awkward, and everyone's like, well, why aren't you sharing? She's like, and then didn't she say something about like lawsuits it just got so weird. And now, of course, because it got weird, now that's a real point of, interest for all the ladies.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because she did say something like how she wanted to do this like charitable book and then it backfired and stuff. So, yeah.
And like the
sure
did. Book.
Yeah. It's so like, I just feel like where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's too many connections of like who was in the book, who she's involved with, that it just, I don't know, it seems suspicious.
Okay, and I'll tell a story really quick. And I'm fine even sharing this because I know, so Elton John is like a big part of her book. And I guess I could say allegedly, but
Say allegedly.
I know that allegedly, I know someone who did Elton John's hair allegedly. And Elton John made really sexual, creepy come-ons to them really inappropriately. That honestly, part of me is like, birds of a feather flock together in a weird way. And I trust this person explicitly. Like, I believe for sure that it's true. That I'm like, okay, I'm maybe that's also coloring I'm like, there's something sketchy perhaps to me that I'm like, I believe it. I have an easier time believing it.
Yeah, totally. I know. And then just, obviously the connections to like Jeffrey Epstein and stuff. Like, it's so suspicious.
And none of us like her, just as like a fan of the show. Like, no one even loves to hate her. No one likes her. Like, nobody wants her on the show. Everybody wants her gone next season. You know, sure, she brings drama, but like, she is so mean and vicious and horrible. And the way she shows off, it's nothing that we're like, oh, but that's cool. The way she looks or the stuff she has, like, she dresses pretty terrible, I must say, for somebody who has so much money and has never, like she says, stepped foot in a store in her life, which I'm like, I'm not impressed by that. I'm sorry. I'm not impressed by that. So you only have a stylist come and bring you clothes. Like, that's cool. But why is it so elitist that you've never stepped into a store before? I just, she's hard to like. She's really hard to like.
And do you think like Andy or the Bravo execs wanted her for this type of
Hey, it's Jordan Ross Myers, the man behind Twitter's notorious Lee Radswell and Don Gunvalson. I'm inviting you to join me every week for the Pretty Corrupt podcast. Along with my co-host, reality casting director Stacey Noel Connor, and disgraced entertainment TV producer Nate Safer, we deconstruct pop culture's past, present, and future and probe the dark crevices of Hollywood, taking you inside the scandals, feuds, rises, and falls of society's rich and infamous. Alongside interviews with our celebrity friends and special guest hosts, everything is fair game on the Pretty Corrupt podcast. Every Tuesday on all streaming platforms and at storicmedia.com.
Personal controversy, or do you think like they just thought she would be good on the show?
I think Lisa Rinna pushed for her.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Really
and I
both,
think they're like, she's rich. Like, okay, like there's another rich lady. Like, I don't know how much research they do because all the time you're like, how did they let this person get past? You know? And it's like,
it is shocking.
Yeah.
It is shocking. I'm like,
yes,
guys.
I know. It's the same with like The Bachelor and stuff like that. Like, how do some of these people, like, do you not do any research? It is wild sometimes of what happens. Or maybe people just don't think that people would find out, but nowadays the internet sleuths find everything out.
I think they underestimate us.
Yeah. And like part of it's like maybe they do want the controversy and they got it. But like if this woman isn't willing to talk, it kind of ruins it. Because it's like, well, what is the point of having this controversial like figure on if she's like literally she's like refusing to film with some of the women she doesn't like, which is
not good. That's a big that's a big like red flag that you will not be asked back. When you refuse to film and participate, you typically do not get asked back. And she doesn't like, she genuinely doesn't like the women. I guess Lisa she likes, but otherwise like she shows that she can't even fake it.
Yeah. And I feel like also when you're asked and you don't shut down, like she just shut down the book talk. Like she didn't even say, let me like clear my name or like, oh, it was so misconstrued or whatever. She was like, I'm not talking about this. And like, that's not good TV.
Yeah. Like, why did you come on a reality show though too? Like, and people are wild because people, as we know, like go on reality shows where they have a lot to hide. And you're like, how could you be so dumb? Like you have so much to hide. People are committing crimes and they're still going on reality TV that honestly, it doesn't put it. I'm like, I wouldn't put anything past anybody at this point.
I know. Yeah. It's kind of like the entitlement that they like think they're getting away with something. So they're like, oh, well, why couldn't I also do this TV show and just still get away with it?
Yeah, 1000%. Absolutely.
Fuck. It's so interesting. Okay. Let's take like the hardest pivot to like.
Honestly, our podcast is all about hard pivots. Like I will bring up the most like, depressing story, and Molly's like, "Ooh, okay, so."
Yeah, like I think it's underrated that we're saying like if you want to do sex work, that's great. There's also so much danger that comes with it. So it's like what we're talking about is some potentially scary and harmful, and then we're like, okay, let's talk about like 16-year-olds like
who's gonna Laguna Beach, like, but also actually it ties in because like honestly we're about the Back to the Beach podcast. What Steven and Kristin are talking about is they were 16, 17, 18 getting manipulated by producers.
True. Like there is some element that is kind of the same, but yeah, so Laguna Beach, one of my favorite TV shows when I grew up. I talk about this on the podcast, but I literally moved to the city that I'm currently in because it's like the Laguna Beach of Canada.
Oh, stop it.
Literally, I just thought I'd be living like my Kristin Cavallari dreams here. But Steven and Kristin, two of the breakout stars of Laguna Beach, started their own podcast, Back to the Beach. And they've released 2 episodes, and I just wanted to chat about it because it's so interesting that they're revisiting, like they said, like 18 years later. And I know, Molly, you didn't watch Laguna Beach. Do you think you'll go back and watch it?
Yeah. So before I even listened to the podcast, I was saying to Denise, I'm like, I'm not listening. I don't watch that show. Like, I hated it growing up. And she was like, how dare you? And I was like, okay, but we're going to talk about it with Torry. So let me listen. I genuinely enjoyed listening to the podcast. The biggest reason is because I work in film and television, and I have not worked in a reality aspect in production. Mm-hmm. So I loved hearing the behind the scenes of how, the show was created and how it was shot and sliced together. And I will say, I definitely now do want to watch the episodes as they discuss them. Like, I think
discuss them.
Yeah. Like, I'm actually like, I'm into it. I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your initial response to me when I was like, oh, you're like, I hate all, like, I don't like Kristin. I don't like Lauren. Like there's no appeal of any of these people to me. I'm not into it. Yeah. But what's interesting, it's like what Kristin is talking about on the show. Mm-hmm. I was always a Kristin girly. Like I liked her. Like, and I don't know what it was, but like something about Lauren Conrad, I was always like, she's too perfect. And maybe that was it. I was like,
I know.
But I know. She's so charming when she's doing like the recaps and stuff. Like it's really, I'm like, oh no, I'm on her side. And like what she's saying, like they did create a character of who she is that I believe like is true that isn't really who she is.
Yeah. And I was actually so happy to hear this. I mean, it's like, well, of course I know that now. Like, how could I, but at the time watching the show, we genuinely thought this was pretty much reality, and that these girls and guys actually acted this way, treated each other this way, had these attitudes and personalities. And, like Kristin said, she was like, oh, yeah, I was a bitch, but was she that horrible? No, of course not. So it was great to like, be like, okay, Molly, you know what? Yes, at 19 years old, you judged these people for what was presented to you. And I feel so bad for these people that as teenagers, they were edited this way.
Yeah. I think that was the thing that I didn't realize also, because in the first episode, they tell this story about how they went to like a screener with their parents because they were all underage. Right. So MTV was like, okay, we need all the sign off from the parents. We're going to show them a clip of what we've done for the TV show. And apparently it wasn't what aired like at all, which is just so interesting. So they were like, oh, this is cute. It's just, like a documentary about beach living and like a high school and like blah blah blah, and then it devolved into something else. I could not imagine being like, I think Kristin was saying she was 17 and I think Steven was 18 at the time, and that's when you're like forming your identity and stuff. I could not imagine like seeing how it was all edited and stuff. And like
how manipulative. I can't believe they were able to get away with that with the parents, because the parents watched that and then signed away their kids' rights, like signed away, like, yeah, film my kids, like without them on set, because usually Molly, correct me if I'm wrong, like when a child, if you're under 18 and you're on set filming, you have to have a parent there when for a TV or a movie. But so how are they filming all these kids without their parents around?
I don't know.
I guess the signing off.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, I don't think this would have worked in any other place other than Laguna Beach because, and this is like a huge judgment, but I feel like the parents there are like, oh, sure. Like, this is like fun and cool. And like my a story and stuff like that.
My kid's going to be on TV. Like,
like
go off about it.
And maybe they're going to show off
on the TV show too.
And they were like, well, they'll show off Laguna Beach and how great our lives, like how great we all are. Like it'll be
and our houses,
Mm-hmm.
because everything was filmed like in Lauren's like hot tub and stuff like that.
But
so I feel, and her dad was an architect, so I feel like it was just like
you're right.
This all just makes sense.
What I thought was wild was when Kristin said that opening scene with her when she's like, because that was like her such a defining moment of like her in her pool, quote unquote, her pool in a bikini, like in that lounge thing. But she said that wasn't even her house, that like MTV set up, like rented a house by the beach. So it made her look like this rich, like super rich girl, like laying by her pool. And it was like, not even that. I'm like,
she said she was nothing like they didn't have money. She had she drove like a Kia or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
It's so interesting. And yeah, that scene is just so burned into because I was like, she is the coolest chick like ever. Her confidence, like I was like, she just like tells boys off, and I was like, just like not like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, she's just so cool. And it is interesting also how she was like, some of my mean girl things came from a place of like insecurity and stuff. It's just fascinating.
And that MTV was paying for their parties because like the first episode of Laguna Beach, they have a black and white party at like this like Malibu beach house hotel. Yeah. And they said that MTV paid for that because they're like, we couldn't afford that. I'm like, MTV is ruthless. Like really, because at the time you're like, oh, look at these super rich kids having their super rich beach party. And it's like, that wasn't it at all. I love Steven and Kristin's dynamic on the podcast. I feel like they're super honest with each other. And Steven is really good. Honestly, like he's so well studied.
Very likable. Very
likable. He seems like nothing like he was in high school, which most people probably aren't, but he seems like he's really like matured, and he always seemed like the really like the definition of cool guy, and like he was almost like nonverbal because he
said that too, right? He was like, I was trying to stay out of the drama by saying as little as possible, which backfired, I think.
I mean, to me, I was like, he's so quiet and hot.
Make assumptions. I know. I was like, oh, he's so like mysterious. Like he's just so cool. Like he probably has like such like
deep thoughts,
interesting things going on in his head, and I was like, it was.
I know. I thought the same thing. They're so stupid.
It was not that at all, but like, the type of show that what's the creator's name?
Bunham and Murray, right? Is that
Adam DeVillo?
Adam DeVillo,
the like producer or whatever. His style, and no one would have known this, but his style of filming is the long stares and silences and making that into like content. So it really did backfire for Steven.
I know. And like you think like when I was 18, if like a 25-year-old producer told me to do something, I would do it. I would be like, you're an adult, like I'm going to do anything you say. Like I would be scared to say no, and it would be like, okay, like they have my best interests here, like for sure.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, they were saying like going back to watch it now, they were like they had so much anxiety, and like I'm like, you haven't watched it even? I guess I wouldn't be able to either.
That was also really interesting. So they said that Steven pitched the podcast, which I thought was interesting because like you said, he not just his silences, but his like some of his behavior was like so bad. Like I'm thinking of the Cabo scene specifically when he's calling Kristin a slut.
I can't wait for when they go to Cabo, because he was having pains even going through this first episode that I'm like, Steven, it's going to get so much worse for you.
It's going to get so much worse. And I hope that he is like held accountable, because he was like shitty.
She was even holding him accountable now when he was like, well, I don't think you were lying. You were lying at that dinner. And I was
I love that. Oh my God. And the like when he whispers I love you to her, like, oh my God, I'm so fucking excited.
I know, me too. Oh my gosh. Did you watch Whitney Port, any of Whitney Port's YouTube?
Yes. When you wrote that in our episode outline, so I've talked about it on this podcast, Whitney Port and her husband Timmy have rewatched Laguna Beach and The Hills and The City, and now they're on to Siesta Key, which is another Adam DeVillo show, and it is so fun.
It is so fun.
It is so
when they did The City, it was to me like the most interesting because obviously it was a show she was the star of, and that Timmy was a producer.
He worked on.
Yeah,
yes, and that's how they met.
So, but now it's like I remember watching them talking about like Laguna Beach and stuff, and I was like, I would just love to hear the actual people talking about it. So now because Steven and Kristin, what they're giving is like real, because I think Whitney even holds back. Like, I don't know if she wants to work with them again. Like, it seems, because she's still even on The Hills, where like, it doesn't seem like she wants to sever her relationship at all with MTV.
With MTV. They provided the tapes for everything to her. At the time when she was recording all of these, she was on The Hills New Beginnings. So there is kind of a relationship there. And I think also she takes everything really hard, like any criticism or anything really hard.
Yeah.
But Kristin and Steven, I was really surprised at how real and authentic it was, because again, you could rewatch this and just share the good parts.
Yeah, which is kind of what, and I like Whitney, and I think like what she was doing was fun. I mean, especially during lockdown, I remember watching like binging all of her recaps of The City. Yeah. But I think what Kristin and Steven are giving is just so much. It's different, but it's also like so good because it's like what you want to hear. And I'm like, I want to know the truth. And I want, and like, it's also gives, I think we can all look back at Lauren Conrad, even from when you like looking at how she treated Heidi and Spencer, and then looking at the way that Steven and Kristin are talking about her, and they're being very kind, but you can tell that things that they're saying are like, okay, no, Lauren took a hand in kind of like painting a picture about all these people that was super unfair, I think.
Yeah, and I think that they're fair to her because they're like, she's the narrator, but what that meant was you were given a script and you just recorded the lines. Mm-hmm. And again, as at that age, I would have done the same. But then they also talk about her, not manipulation, but I think she was like she was set up as the good girl. And I think her and her family needed that. And then we see that in The Hills when the alleged sex tape comes out, or like the rumor of the sex tape comes out, like just this grip on this like good girl persona slipping a little bit. So
Kristin took her dig when she was like, oh, I think Lauren did like you. And she's like, Lauren wasn't acting. Like, Lauren really was in love with you. Like, she believed all those things. Like, she wasn't making it up. And I was like, oh, like, she's like, Kristen's like, we were kind of acting in some ways, but Lauren was not. Like, that was like real for her. That drama was like not manufactured. She really felt that, because when Steven was like, I was, there was no love triangle for me and Kristin. And I think that was Kristen's way of saying to Steven, like, she was in love with you, and like as if you didn't know. And I'm sure we'll get into that as these episodes go. I can't wait.
Yeah. And I kind of think that's true, but also I was thinking about me. I would be same, like when he's showing up at my house with flowers and chocolate, like I would be the same too. Like, I feel like she was in love with him, but like how much of that was her and how much of that was like set up through production.
I know. I'm also curious when they get to the episodes where they're drunk, because there was episodes of Laguna Beach where they're so clearly drunk,
wasted,
that it's like the accountability then too. It's like the producers, the camera people, like everyone, when you're like, you're filming a bunch of teenagers drunk, knowing that you're going to put them on TV, like now looking back at it, it's like, that's wild that was just a thing that people were like, that's fine, and let's vilify these kids then.
I feel terrible that these kids were vilified, and I don't believe whatever I'm going to watch, I don't believe any of it's real in any capacity, because the way they said all these wild lines were read, all of these scenes were cut together that were in days and weeks apart. I'm like, this is, and let's be honest, can teenagers really drum up that type of drama in real life? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And how much of it, if a producer's telling you how you feel, also, I think like they do it on The Bachelor, they do it on these shows when you're telling someone like, you are upset, aren't you? Aren't you mad at, so
yeah,
you can manufacture someone's emotions so easily.
Yeah, or just like on The Bachelor, they're like, the lead like was telling me the other day, like, really likes you and stuff like that. They're doing that. Like, Steven really likes you, Lauren. Like, he told us like all this stuff. And obviously you're just like, okay, like an adult is telling me this. You're going to believe it. Like, I'm going to believe it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so wild. And like, since the show did come out like almost 20 years ago, there are websites and stuff that you can see like screenshots of like alcohol and or like their haircuts being different, so it's like, oh, this was filmed and stuff in different weeks. But yeah, it's just fascinating.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm stoked. I'm happy they're doing it.
Anything else you two want to say about Back to the Beach?
No, I think I'm just excited. I'm excited. That's it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm excited that you guys brought this to my attention, because I was so anti and genuinely enjoyed it.
Hey, I love it.
Okay, I'm so glad, because I like, you know, when podcasts get downloaded in your feed and you're like, oh, I need to, like, because there's a lot of podcasts I listen to where I'm doing other things. So if I miss a bit, I'm like, oh, whatever. This was a podcast that I was like, I need to like sit down and listen.
I watched the YouTube. I hope they put them all up on YouTube. See, this is because I'm also on hiatus from work, so I'm like on my parents' couch and sitting there, and I'm just like watching. I have nothing to do. I have nothing but time. But watching it, I was like, the sexual. I'm inventing it. See, this is again me being like, Steven and they're both single right now. Like, maybe.
I know. And they were like, we might have kissed in 2020, and I was when they like reunited, and I was like, please get back together.
I know. We'll see.
Even if it's like a PR relationship, I will eat all of that content.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. God. Okay. Let's move on to Pettyweight Champion of the Week, which is the part of the show where our guests nominate a Pettyweight Champion of the Week, someone in the media who did something petty and it was iconic. Molly, Denise, who are you nominating this week?
So we're nominating Florence Pugh because what she did is so I guess there's been a bunch. I know it's so petty, and I would have done it too. And I will say, because I like Olivia Wilde, but there's been all of this gossip about what's going on with Don't Worry, Darling, which is a movie that she shot that Florence Pugh did with Olivia Wilde, who's the director, and Harry Styles is in it. And there was all this like alleged drama on set already going on, and I think it can be confirmed now, at least, because Florence Pugh is really good about promoting all the movies that she's doing. She promotes her work. Yes. She promotes it on her Instagram, and she does not fail. Like, she is all in it. And a new trailer for Don't Worry, Darling just dropped. And on that same day, Florence Pugh posted a movie poster for a movie she has coming out a year from now, even though Don't Worry, Darling comes out in September. She has not posted about Don't Worry, Darling. And instead that day posted in her stories about that movie coming out in a year. And like, I forget what her comment was, but it was like something excited, like woohoo or something. And then immediately after, Olivia Wilde posted this like a bit too much of a post about, it was like her as the director in the movie sitting at the chair. And it's like, I loved working with this magical woman so much at Florence Pugh. Like, you are the best. I love you. Florence Pugh did not like that post. Has not commented, has never commented on any of Olivia Wilde's posts promoting the movie, hasn't promoted the movie. And I'm sorry, like, you can't tell me that isn't on purpose. To not even like the post. And Florence Pugh to me seems like this is petty, but she has a reason. I don't know what the reason is.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
What is the reason?
Yeah,
I don't know. I heard like a rumor that, and I think I heard it on Who Weekly, that they were talking and they were saying that on set there was something like Olivia Wilde got so caught up with Harry Styles and like her like falling for Harry Styles that like Florence Pugh had to direct the end of the movie and like really took control at the end. Yeah.
What?
And that was like bad blood. And because it's not even just Florence Pugh and like a lot of the promotion, I guess, for the movie so far, because Florence Pugh is the lead. She is the star of the movie, but the promotion has been so heavily leaning towards Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles.
Harry.
And it's not just because Gemma Chan is in the movie too, and Gemma Chan hasn't posted anything either. And I don't know if that is the same reason. So I think Florence Pugh is being petty, but I'm on her side. Even though I like Olivia Wilde. But like, I'm like, if you do that, if you're that, it's a project that you're not willing to promote, something happened.
Yeah. I didn't even know that Florence Pugh is like the lead in this movie because there's nothing about her. It's all Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde.
And that's the problem. I think I would be pissed too. It's like she's the star. She's the lead.
I agree. I'd be mad.
Yeah. And is this the first movie that she is like the main lead? Because obviously she's had large roles in like Little Women but this might be the first one that she's like, this is my movie.
So she was the lead in the movie I saw. And honestly, I can't believe I'm blanking on the title, but it was a very scary movie where they like go to Sweden. She was like the flower.
Oh, was it Midsummer?
Midsummer, yeah.
Okay, she was the lead in that. Okay, I didn't watch that. Yeah,
you shouldn't. It's
too scary.
Terrifying. It's truly terrifying, but she was great in it. But she does like when you look at her Instagram feed, it's like promoting all of her work. Like she's constantly promoting stuff. And for her to choose a movie that's coming out in September that she's not promoting, which seems like, okay, it's coming out far. We'll see. Let's see if she changes if she does. But I think that not liking that post, that Olivia Wilde went out of her way to tag her and write like a glowing post for her, that it's like,
That's suspicious for sure. And I just think also that Florence Pugh, like, we know she's on Instagram because she replied to those, like, she was paparazzi'd with Nicholas, the guy with the eyebrows. I want to call him Nicholas Hoult, but I don't think that's his name.
Nicholas Hoult is an actor.
Okay, maybe it was him, but she was paparazzi'd with him and people were like, new dating rumors, like, because she hasn't posted a lot about Zach Braff. So people were like, oh my God, she must be dating him. And she like replied. So it's like, we know she's on Instagram.
And that she sees the rumors too, which is,
yeah.
And I think if there was nothing going on with her and Olivia Wilde, like there was no bad blood, you would be quick to be like, hey guys, don't be silly. Of course, I'm so excited about this movie. She would like the post.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something's
she would
up.
Comment, thanks babe. Like,
yeah.
Loved working with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something is up. Okay. If any listeners have some hot tips, or some theories, we're all ears.
The other thing I'm thinking is like it has absolutely nothing to do with Olivia Wilde, Harry Styles, and all that stuff. It's some sort of like money thing or like, production thing where she's just not the terms of her contract are just not being agreed upon, and maybe that's why she's not promoting.
Maybe which
is not very interesting.
Yeah, but if they're not
that's
promoting,
the more likely.
Yeah, if they're not also like. If the studio isn't doing a good enough job promoting her as the lead, and if they're doing a better job promoting Olivia Wilde and Harry, I'd also be like, you know what? Then you don't need me. Then have them post about it,
Yeah. And I think because there was rumors that Olivia and Harry got together to drum up controversy and drama to promote this movie, that she's probably like maybe doubling down that she's not happy with the way that this is rolled out.
Oof. Awkward.
I know. And it's like the stuff with Olivia Wilde and Harry is like tough because like I like looked at TikTok comments to see when people are commenting, and my God, like people are so, I guess his fans love him so much that like you don't even know what's going on for like the truth because they're so crazy in their comments of like how much they hate her that I'm like, okay, is any of this true because or do you all just hate her so much? Like what's the truth?
I know. They're wild. They're
terrifying.
Yeah, it's like the stan culture for Harry Styles is its own thing, honestly. Well, are you going to watch the movie?
1,000%. It looks good. The trailer
does look really good.
Yeah, I liked Booksmart that Olivia Wilde directed, so like I'll probably watch this one too.
Yeah, and isn't it going to be on like, is it in the movie theater or is it going to be on streaming?
I think it's in theaters.
Yeah, I think it's a theater film.
Yeah, but also like Harry and Florence Pugh are so hot that I'm just like, anything they give me, I'll watch.
Yeah, and like, for sure, I'll definitely watch it.
No, I'm excited about it, and of course it's 1950s, which is my thing. So I'm excited for the costumes,
like that aesthetic.
Yes,
Yes.
The time period, the sets and the costumes. That's all me. So I'm absolutely going to watch it.
Okay. I'll have to get both of your takes when it comes out.
Okay. And everyone be on the lookout if she posts, if Florence Pugh posts anything about it from now until then.
Let us know. Okay, finally, it's time for This Week in Petty, where our guests are going to share some stories about something that happened in their real lives that they're petty about. Molly, let's start with you. What are you petty about this week?
So there's something I do often. I couldn't tell you why, except for simply I'm being petty, is I find when people post thirst trap photos of themselves or photos where they're like really trying to show off and like really want you to notice what they do, I do not like or comment ever.
I love that because I basically do that too.
Okay.
Like, I'm just like scroll past.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yes.
Was there someone in particular that...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's someone in particular that is always showing off, one-ups you in real life, and anything I post, it's always like, oh, I did that too. Oh, did you have fun? Because I did that. And I was like, okay. So there was a lot of that going on this person's social media this week. And I was like, yeah, I'm just not acknowledging any of your posts. Nope, sorry. So
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's iconic. And that's super petty.
It is.
The listeners are going to love that. I'm sure there's people that can relate.
Yeah.
And what about you, Deniz? What are you petty about this week?
You know what's funny? Because mine is also involving Instagram, which I feel like maybe it's just a breeding ground for petty behavior.
It comes up way more than you would think.
Yeah.
Like I would say like 90% of the stories that I get in This Week in Petty are like online stories.
Online. And like, well, I could use that. I mean, I'm in Turkey and visiting my parents, but whenever I'm hanging out with my American friends here, I purposely pretend I don't know how to speak Turkish because it drives me crazy whenever people will just come up to me like at restaurants and stuff, and like they'll be annoying and like trying to ask me about my friends or trying to ask things, and I just pretend I don't speak, which I know if it's petty, it's like
this week you need to explain this. So people in Turkey are speaking Turkish to you, asking about your American friends to like hook up with them?
No, just like they're probably being friendly. Honestly, like they're trying to, but because my American friends speak Turkish, but they don't look Turkish, technically.
Right.
And I think that's what bothers me because I'm like, why you just come? I'm an American. I was born in America. I'm American. Like, don't come to me. And they've lived here for like 10, 20 years. I'm like, go to them, ask them. You know?
Yeah.
Be petty. I'm like, not to just explain like, oh, like my Turkish isn't that great. You should ask them. I just pretend like I don't speak at all. I'm
like, I have no idea what you're saying.
I respond in American, in English. I'm like, what?
In American,
I have no idea.
in English.
Even though I absolutely know. But my Instagram one was, Molly, you're a big person for still letting those people be in your feed. I mute people. I mute their stories. I mute their posts because I don't want them to know I care enough to unfollow or block. So I mute them. But then I have a Finsta where I will watch their stories from my Finsta because I still pathetically care, but I don't want them to.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Amazingly pathetic.
I don't have a Finsta. I would be so scared that I would that I would be found out. So I'm just like so scared to like even like create that. Do you have one, Molly?
I had.
If you want to tell us.
Yeah, no, I had
I
don't know.
You don't want
I don't know if there's like is there a Facebook Finsta? I know Finsta's Instagram, but is there like a...
Yeah.
Okay, like I have
no, because no one is losery enough to have a fake Facebook account. Molly, oh my God, I can't believe you're admitting that. Yikes.
You know what? It's not even like fake. I only found like my mom and my husband on it. And so,
yeah.
And I have like the name of my account is like my grandmother's name. And
yes.
But I don't have a Finsta, but I am not against it. I am not opposed to it. I don't think it's a bad thing because there's a lot of people's stories I am curious about, but absolutely they can't know that I would ever look. I mean, no way.
Yeah.
So, and it's pathetic. Yeah. I will say there's so many, because on my Finsta, I've been building this for years and years. And the amount of people who have private accounts who will let me follow them.
Yeah. Shocking.
Oh my God, I know. Because I get requests to my private account and I like decline immediately. But there's so many people that just accept. And I think it's because they want like high follower numbers. But I'm like,
but why?
You're letting a lot of finstas through.
I know. I'm like, I'm in here. They have no idea.
That's so funny. I know you can't tell us. You should tell us offline. But like what your like profile picture is and like. Do you have like a full persona or is it just like dog pics or something?
I'm like, it's a full persona. Well, because, you know, it's scary because these people try to follow you back, but I'm not a person. I don't have any person pics. I post just memes on there.
Oh my God.
Meme account.
A meme account that like, I think I have like, weirdly, I have like 70 followers, but my account is also private. But when I follow those people, they try to follow me back. And I'm so pathetic that I want to see what's going on in these. And I don't go into it often, but it's like usually when I'm like on a downward spiral, I'll be like, what?
Yeah.
Are all these like people who I hated in high school doing? Like, let me go scroll through their stuff.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
bad
that's why
account, but it's like sometimes fun.
That's why I haven't created a Finsta because when I'm in that bad place, I don't want to spiral because it's so easy. But that's what I was doing with my Facebook, you know?
Yeah.
But Instagram, that's a dangerous place to spiral.
It's dangerous.
It is. And it's like, honestly, to build a Finsta that is quality, it takes years of commitment.
Yeah. I know, like you put work into this and I'm just not willing to do that.
Honestly, you know what's really sad? I started that Finsta when I just broken up. It was like in 2015 and I was like living in Nashville. I had no friends.
That was 7 years ago.
I had no friends. I'd just broken up with my like long-term boyfriend. I was like lonely in Nashville and I made this account. And like, honestly, I look back at it and sometimes I go to it and I'm like, you know what? At least you're not this sad anymore, you know?
Yeah. You can
it cheers me up.
Track your progress. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, those were amazing stories. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Oh, it was so much fun. Thank you so much for having us on this. Yes. Was awesome. And you're going to come on to our podcast too.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. It would be my pleasure.
I'll be in LA when we record so that you can sleep in. We won't be hostages.
Much appreciated.
It's okay. I'll just do a nighttime recording. It's fine.
Okay, where can the listeners find you both, your podcast, and anything else you want to plug?
Okay.
Well, you can follow us on Instagram. We don't have a Finsta, but it's on Instagram. Follow us at Gossip That's Good For You.
We also have a TikTok, Gossip That's Good For You. We're
following right now.
Yeah, we're ramping up the TikTok, but Instagram we're like pretty heavily active on.
Yes.
So Molly makes things, and she has a book.
Molly makes things. So I am an artist, and during COVID and my pregnancy, I was doing a lot of illustrating. So I decided to start selling stickers on Etsy. So I have an Etsy account and it's called Stickerhead Club. And I have a lot of Housewives stickers. I have Golden Girls. I have like food, like hamburgers and pickles. And
you have holiday stickers. Yeah, I bought all your Halloween ones.
Seasonal, and they're all original illustrations. And what I also have, which is my biggest seller, is I illustrated a baby book while I was pregnant as well. And you can buy my baby book on Amazon. It's called A World of Words, Animals by Molly Smith. And the animals in my baby book are also stickers that, again, you could find on Etsy at Stickerhead Club.
Oh my God, this is so cool. Okay, I'm going to check it out right after this.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm like fascinated. And also like when you're saying bravo, like this is right up our alley. So
yeah, I try to hit all the interests, you know, and I'm always illustrating and printing more, and they're really good quality, and I ship immediately, guys. So
she does. Honestly, I was shocked when I got those Halloween stickers and they came like 2 days later. I was like, what? How the heck?
I like to deliver.
Okay, do you ship to Canada?
I was just gonna say, shit, I don't think I do, but I'll add. I'll add Canada because I haven't done international shipping because I don't know. That might be a little confusing, but I think I could add Canada to the list, and it shouldn't be too hard, right? I mean,
yeah. I feel like if it comes in like an envelope, it shouldn't be.
It's literally just a regular postage stamp envelope, so it's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you should definitely.
I'll add Canada. Okay. I will add Canada today. So your Canadian listeners. Check it out.
And me. Oh my
And
God. Okay,
you.
this is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is so fun. Okay, cool. I'm excited for that. And Deniz, you can't plug your Finsta.
But if you want to follow me on Twitter at Deniz Kofteci, I try to put. I used to work in hard news, and I was a bummer of a follow. Honestly, I was not.
I'm not gonna lie.
I was like, this is what's happening in the news today. Womp womp. But I'm not working in hard news anymore. But so if you're interested in like labor reporting or like labor as in like work and unions and financial fraud, I do tweet a lot about that. Government fraud.
Oh my God.
I know, which is not what we talk about in the podcast.
Pro-union podcast.
Denise is very passionate and informed. So she's like, I learn so much from her, and she really gives the facts. She doesn't necessarily give like her opinion, which I appreciate, you know?
Yeah.
So she is good.
I cherry pick the facts that all suit my opinion is what I do. No, I'm just kidding. But
live such nuanced, interesting lives.
Yes.
Holy shit!
Yes.
But our podcast is really, we just talk about celebrity gossip, pop culture, and I do sometimes sprinkle in some of my. I'm like, how do I like shoehorn in what's happening in Dubai with the Real Housewives of Dubai, but without being a bummer, you know? But
yes,
You know,
that's very much my vibe too.
We have our niche interests. I'm really interested in the olden days, and Denise is like snoring. But you know what? Someone else is going to be interested in something that happened in 1960. So you know what?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We bring it all in. We bring it all in.
Oh, I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Torry. This was so much fun.
And there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Molly and Denise for joining me on today's episode. If you enjoyed it, you can follow me at RTPP Podcast on all socials. And if you haven't already, leave me a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We also have some fun merch items out. You can buy a custom RTPP Starbucks cup and the cutest little keychain I ever did see. All those links are in the episode show notes. I hope you are safe and healthy out there. As always, I'm your host, Torry, and I am ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.